This is The Extra Point, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast, sponsored by your Phoenix Suns.
It was a perfect Sunday for the Arizona Cardinals, a perfect win, a complete win, and a complete and perfect quarterback rating from Kyler Murray. Let's completely overreact to this, guys. Cardinals, are they a playoff team? Go.
Yeah, well, I've always believed they were a playoff team just based on what they did last year, adding the draft picks, especially the weapons when we think about outside. Because last year, right, they played really hard and didn't have Kyler Murray for half the season. And then you have Trey McBride have his breakout. You add in MHJ. I keep saying messing his MHJ. I always want to say MSG. You know, like that.
I've done that a couple times on
That's what comes
there.
out naturally.
Yeah.
But Harrison Jr., right, what he's been able to do, Connor being able to run the ball, and then the defense. That's going to, if anything kind of throws something in my prediction, is going to be, I think, the defense. But today they played really well, took advantage of an injured offensive line, to say the least, with 3 sacks with Dennis Gardeck, the Barbarian. I always love giving him his props, being a special teams guy. Zaven, right, getting another sack. His last week got taken away because they protecting these quarterbacks. He should have 2. But today, just big, powerful, overpowering the left tackle McClendon, who was getting his first start, who just got abused. He gave up 4 sacks today, which I don't think is a great day. So It was just great for the defense going into a very physical game next week, just building that confidence. So I think it was just a great time to have it, especially knowing who you're going to play next week.
Julia, I don't think you've been here for like a good Cardinals season yet.
I haven't.
So this is probably the best win since you've been out here.
Yes.
Vibe check for you. I mean, Cardinals going ahead in the fall. Is there some genuine excitement here that this team could be playing in January?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and especially I'm looking at these 489 total yards, and I don't think it's any coincidence that no Aaron Donald and then Kyler just like goes, crazy over the Rams. Like he's so excited, so happy not to have to go against Donald, right? But he showed poise, and I just love the confidence that he has. He has seriously changed from last year to this year, just in the maturity, and it's so cool just to see his growth at QB.
Yeah, and I would say just real quick to kind of follow up her point, right? Kyler, it wasn't like it was all perfect. He had to make some stuff happen with his legs today, right? So even with the Aaron Donald not back there, he had a couple of times where guys could have had clean shots on him, and he just made magic happen and took it back to the backyard and finding Maziarty Marv down the streak in on the sideline, and just was really good with his arm and his placement, even under pressure.
Do you think the Rams are going to have an answer for them defensively, or are we going to be seeing all week, how do you stop the Arizona Cardinals? Pick your poison, because if Kyler Murray is coming around the corner, I love a bootleg. And Jared Goff was the first one that I saw. McVay and the Rams came in here probably 6 or 7 years ago and just marched right down the field on the Cardinals, and was thinking the whole time, if you could just do that with Kyler, if he turns the corner and you don't know whether he's going to run or throw, how would you defend that? Is there an answer to that?
You can't defend it, but the biggest thing is that you have to make it a one-dimensional game and stop the run. You cannot allow Connors to be able to ratchet off 4 or 5 yards a pop, and now it's 2nd and 4. I mean, it's a mixed down. I'm going to fake it and boot, and then he can just scramble for a first down, even if it's 5 or 6 yards, and that's debilitating to a defense. So in order to stop this team, I really think you have to make Kyler stay in the pocket, put him behind the chains, be able to stop the run. But the way they're operating right now and the weapons that they have is really hard to take away. So, maybe today they said, let's take away McBride because he's more of a known commodity. Harrison didn't have a great week last week. We're going to man him up, right? They got Tre'Davious White, who I play with in Buffalo. He can handle him. Well, nope. After the first series, we got to throw that out. Let's go double Harrison and try to take him out the game. And then you saw McBride come alive, right? And the run game was just consistent all game. So it's going to be really hard to pick your poison. Who do you take away? Because then the other guy is going to eat. And then that's not even with Kyler running or doing any of the spectacular things that he does.
Right, and there's so many good stories here. Now you get a chance to talk to the guys, get their stories. That's your role during the week to get over there, Julia. So who are you angling for this week? Who do you want to know more about after this win?
I was just actually thinking about that. Dennis Gardeck would be an amazing interview, obviously, with his whole story working at McDonald's during college, and then having, now he's just this crazy linebacker that just is just a sack machine. So obviously he would be fantastic to get. Marv would be a fantastic. I don't know if we're going to be able to get him, but that would be probably
he didn't work at McDonald's. You get that, just the pre and post NIL deals of guys, right? Dennis pre, Maserati post. I was pre-NIL, different lifestyle.
Which NIL deal would you have been angling for? Say it was around when you were at Cal. What do you think?
I probably would have got paid. I mean, I was a top 5 player in the country coming out at my position, so I would have been probably in these hundreds of thousands of dollars type of deal. So I was a security guard. That was my thing. I had to work security. I did Toys R Us or Babies R Us as well during the holiday season. That's where my mom worked at. Oh. So you had to have a real job back then, you know, on top of the football job that now guys are getting paid for.
If you had gotten paid during college, do you think you would have been able to stick it out and have the longevity?
No.
I mean, because the way your career ended was
immature. So I don't know how guys do it. You have to prepare guys now to get that type of money. If I would have had that type of money, see, you see the finished product. You see I'm, married 15 years, 4 kids. In college, I was all over the place. If I'd have had $100,000, right, and coming from a family who's never really had that type of money, Maserati Marvin, guys like that have had dads, right? My son will be fine because he's been around it, so he'll know a little bit better how to handle that and have some protections. But me, I was just kind of on my own and just – I'd have been wilding out. I mean, I would have had a real nice car I didn't need, clothes I didn't need. I'd have bought a whole bunch of stuff. So that's why I think it's a little bit of a catch-22, and you got to protect some of these kids with that NIL money.
That's going to be seriously interesting to watch NFL rosters and who makes it. I mean, who keeps going? Or are you like, well, especially with the safety risk. That's going to be a really interesting story to watch here in the next 10 years. Over the next 5-10 weeks, though, J-Lo, so you're going to San Francisco. You're going to go on the next road trip here, but the Cardinals have 2 games at home here. Could they get both of these? Could they beat the Lions and Commanders and us be looking up? You're going to San Francisco thinking 3-1 Cardinals? Is that out of the realm of possibility?
Well, the Lions lost today,
right.
So the Bucs beat them with Baker Mayfield. So I think they're definitely winnable, especially here, and especially if State Farm Stadium is rocking. Like I know that the Red Sea can. And Commanders, Jaden Daniels, a young rookie quarterback, they're going to be all over him. And
the return of Cliff.
Exactly,
Cliff's coming back. That's
going to be crazy. You know what? I don't want to get too crazy, but I do think that both are very winnable.
You're wearing Detroit Lions Honolulu blue, by the way. So are you maybe don't?
Are you from
wear that next week?
From Detroit?
No,
where you from?
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Oh yeah, it's no football team.
Exactly.
That's a Dallas blue.
Wait, did you
say
that
Dallas blue?
No, not Dallas. I'm a Niners fan.
Oh, okay, all right. I can rock with you. I grew up a Niner fan too. Yeah. I did grow up a Niner fan. All right.
Like I grew up watching Jerry Rice, Steve Young, Joe Montana. So I was like, okay,
that era. Okay,
exactly.
That could have easily went Emmitt Smith and
totally.
That whole Aikman and the triplets too. Yeah. So I had to check.
That is so true. It's between the Niners, Cowboys, and Raiders and Broncos.
That's who's on TV.
Yeah, exactly. If you live in New Mexico, it's either one of those 4 teams. But I think I took the best team.
I was a Dallas fan as a kid, but then I moved to Houston and they were never on TV, and I couldn't get with the vibe in the '90s, so became an Oilers fan. So you can all play a small violin for me because a man without a team. As far as just the Lions coming in here, I mean, this is a playoff team. This is a team that's going to be really, really angry. What sort of challenge is that going to be for the Cardinals? I mean, this week Rams were kind of wounded, so should we expect similar results next week?
I think obviously the Lions are more of a physical team. They're a healthier team, and that's what I want to see. When the Cardinals get hit physical and Dan Campbell's teams are going to continue to come after you, how do you respond then? How do you respond if the run game isn't there? How do you make some adjustments to maybe get Connors going, or can we sit back and have Kyler throw the ball, drop back, and you know what's coming and still execute? So that's going to be the interesting part. Can they grind games out? Because when you get into November, December, right, going into the playoffs, you have to be able to do that. You have to be able to grind it out because maybe you're playing outside and you can't throw the ball, just like in Buffalo, right? Can we grind it out and keep the ball so the Bills don't get it to go give it to Josh Allen or one of these other great quarterbacks to maybe have a chance to win the game? That's when you play these type of teams. You want to see if your offensive line, if your running backs, do you have that type of mentality to dominate it physically?
Do they have that type of attitude to dominate it physically?
I think so. And look at even Kelvin Beachum stepping up, he had a heck of a game as well. And it's just he brings that veteran mindset as well. He knows what to do in situations, and it's so cool just to see him back in the starting lineup.
Yeah, and I had to make sure people had to understand, man, you got to pump your brakes, man. You can't because I was in the league in year 15 for it. I think this is 13 for Kelvin, right? And you ask him to come off the bench in Buffalo, versus, and his first rush was against Von Miller, and then I got to see Greg Rousseau, and it's like, oh, he can't play football anymore. Like, hold on, can he get warmed up, lubed up? It takes us a couple of weeks sometimes because you wasn't expecting a starter go in, and you're going against some of the best that the league has to offer. So he's going to be fine. A guy that plays at a high level, great leader, knows the game, and will be fine until the offensive line can get healthy again.
Would you equate that to like jumping on the freeway at 80 miles an hour and having to ride a bull while doing that? Is it close to that scenario?
Very close. Maybe worse. Maybe worse. Yeah, because your livelihood is dependent on obviously doing all that is too, but now everybody's watching you, seeing you, going to talk about you all week based on what you do. All of that goes into it as well.
All right, storyline to watch this coming week before you guys get out of here. Hogan Hatton from Saguaro High School in Pinnacle was the long snapper. He won the job with the Lions. So brother played at Idaho as receiver, was in camp with the Seahawks. That's something to watch.
Nice.
And then I didn't know we had 2 Niners fans here, so maybe you can bond. So your mom rooted against you when the Niners would play?
She was a little bit more liberal about it, but
Yeah.
my uncle, he raised me. So I like that story we did on Roy Lopez, really reminded me of my uncle. He was a high school football, still coaches high school football.
Awesome.
Right, and if you was to ask him about me, he would have a similar response. So it was really cool to see that story. But yeah, he wouldn't talk to me the week of the game. He would never wear any Bill stuff or whatever team, the Cardinals stuff. He would deliberately make sure I knew he had Niners gear on, that he still was a Niners fan. Because I actually had a chance to either play for the Cardinals or the Niners when I signed. And he was so mad I picked the Cardinals. So upset. But yeah, it just runs deep with him in his fandom. And blood wasn't thicker than water in this case.
Well, no.
I was just going to ask, why did you choose Cardinals over Niners in that situation?
The relationships. Brinson Buckner was here. I had played with him as a young guy in Carolina. He was the old vet on that team as a D lineman. He really helped me along, and they were going to give me the opportunity to start here, where the 49ers still wanted to use me as this utility guy, and I was trying to make another step in my career.
And look at all the steps, and look what became of
Yeah.
it. Pro Bowl a couple years later. Hey, great stuff. So we're gonna listen to Jonathan Gannon's sound right now. Let the two of you go and kind of reset the podcast. But let's hear from the Cardinals coach on the victory over the LA Rams and where the Cardinals go from here.
Thought that all 3 phases did an excellent job today. Even the start of the game, I think they returned it. Defense got off on 4th down, and we hit the explosive touchdown. Started the game well, and execution stayed consistent for most of the game. We'll clean some things up, but happy for those guys that put a lot of work in. And on to Detroit.
You see a better performance from Kyler Murray than that?
Probably not. It was lights out today.
Kyler did some unbelievable things. How would you describe his play?
Yeah, he was lights out. He's premium player for a reason. You take him against anybody. That's how I feel. That's what he did today.
Something like that unfolds. Do you notice that early, that he's on top of his game?
No, I think it starts. I thought our O-line did a good job. You know what I mean? And it's not just on K1. It's the whole offensive operation from the plan. I thought Drew did an excellent job with the coaches, with the plan. Ball went where it should go. Guys made a bunch of plays, you know what I mean? So it's high-level execution. Guys win a lot of one-on-ones. And, when he's on, he's going to be tough to beat.
How intentional was that fast start to Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Honestly, you guys are going to think I'm a liar. The ball went where it should go. You know what I mean? So they were doing some different things, but we had planned for. I wouldn't say. They threw some curveballs too, but I just thought it was a good plan in place, and 18 got going today.
What is it about his relationship with Kyler?
I think it's going to get better and better the more they play with each other. You know what I mean? So, and I know they want some plays back. You guys saw a couple plays they want back that we need to convert on those plays. Every day on the practice field, they're going to get better. Every day in the meeting room, they're going to get better.
I know you're going to find stuff that you want to fix, and everybody's going to push.
There always is.
When the whole team plays like that today, and it seems like every group did what they needed to do, how satisfying is it as a coach that there's no weak points?
Yeah, I'm happy for the players. You know what I mean? They put a lot into this, and they had to, pick themselves up off the mat after round 1 and had to pour everything into round 2. and we did enough to win round 2. So, but they know on a Monday, lose by 40, win by 40. It's the same process, man. So how are we going to get better from the tape? And then we move on and on to Detroit.
Yeah, on to Detroit it is for Jonathan Gannon and the Arizona Cardinals. Gannon picks up his first divisional win of his career. The Cardinals don't start 0-2, which if you look at the numbers going into the playoffs, they're trying to make the playoffs. You start 0-2. It's not good if you start 0-2. So
it was a great game. Great game.
And there's Kyler Murray. We're going to hear from him in just a second.
Yes,
so it was. It was a great game. And we've got a great show here every night at Arizona's Family, the Extra Points. So joined now by the two men who keep the show on the air and keep me looking good. Producer Matt Hippie.
I do what I can.
Yes, and behind the glass, Joe Ferris. You don't see him. You just hear him.
Hello.
Yes, hear the baritone voice and the beard. Gentlemen, you put together the show. Watch the game. Let's start with you, Matt. What was your favorite part of your show?
Today, probably seeing Marvin Harrison Jr. do what everyone expected him to do. Finally, what was the Denny Green quote? He is who we thought he was.
Yes.
I mean, week 1, they kept saying it was it was an anomaly. That's kind of the way things go sometimes, and it was the way things went. And then comes out right away. First drive shows us, week one is a liar.
Yes,
and that's kind of the way it always is with the NFL. And then he proved it true in week 2.
I think the wind had a lot to do with it, and just some jitters, and the crowd got in his head in Buffalo, and he wanted to come out, and I think the team wanted to show he was, you don't want to get somebody thinking too much out there because then you can go into the death spiral, and all of a sudden you have the number 4 overall pick who can't do anything right. So he did a lot right today.
Well, the team as a whole too, they played the Bills as close as they did. The Bills were kind of a question mark coming into week 1, and then you saw the Bills on Thursday night in the way they just demolished the Dolphins the way they did at home. And you kind of look back at the Cardinals and go, well, maybe the Cardinals aren't as bad. Maybe the Bills are really good. And the Cardinals are almost as good and played them, as well as they probably could. And then they came out in week 2 and just dismantled a Rams team, which they should have, based on what this Rams roster looked like coming into today.
Those are the one when you get the fastball right down the middle, you got to be able to hit it out of the park, and that's exactly what they did. Joe, behind the glass, Sun Devil Joe, as a Niner fan, we got a lot of Niner fans in here apparently today with Lorenzo and Julia. Are you concerned at all about the Arizona Cardinals?
Not yet. You got to see it consistently, I think. But you could see, just why this kid was drafted number 4 and what everyone was talking about. And I think we all knew, because we've been kind of following him since his last few games at Ohio State, that this could happen. And just seeing him in camp, and he just looks like a different receiver than they've had. And then it was kind of disappointing. Like, imagine if this was week 1 and they came out like this, and how high everyone would be, even though I'm sure everyone is high right now. But, man, there was some bad juju, I think, from fans on this team and on MHJ and on Petzing, and it was like they're measuring his speed and they're saying this guy's a bust, and it was like it's week 1, and like Hippie said, you can't believe your eyes on week 1, even in September. You want to keep the momentum going, but and see how you finish the season. It's not how you start, but there is a lot to be worried a little bit about this team as an NFC West opponent. But I still think the Niners are the class of the division, even despite how they played today.
Even losing to the Vikings?
Well, they lost to the Vikings last year.
That's true.
And every year since '92.
So, why can't San Francisco win in Minnesota, and why wasn't Sam Darnold seeing ghosts today?
I think he did see a little ghost with Fred Warner, but it was just some fluky stuff. A block punt was 3 points, and then a 97-yard touchdown to Justin Jefferson. There's your 9-point win. And the I don't know if crowd noise had something to do with it, but we ran the ball, threw the ball a little better, didn't execute, but we play this Rams team next week in LA, so we'll see how they do against them.
That's going to be all Niner fans. Are there any Rams fans going to pay for a ticket to go there? Why would you?
That'll be 80% red. It already is, and then now more people will be there.
It's hard enough to get Rams fans in even when they're playing well.
Right. I mean, so are we? Can you just wipe the Rams off the divisional race right now? I mean, is Stafford inevitably he's probably going to get banged up, and he's the patchwork offensive line now. Cooper Kupp's out. Is this a 3-team race right now in the NFC West?
I mean, I think, like Joe said, early in the season, things change, and Sean McVay is such a good coach, and as long as Stafford is healthy and playing decent, I feel like they have some chance to play better than – their floor is a lot higher than most teams in that sense. If they get Puka Nacua back, if Kupp
how long is he out for? Is it like –
at least 4 weeks.
I think it's going to be over like 6 to 7.
So that's like Thanksgiving-ish, first week in November?
Probably.
Yeah, I don't even know what day it is, so that's – yeah.
Because his injury goes back to the start of August.
Oh, wow.
He's been dealing with, and then it just flared up in week 1.
So if him and Kupp are out, man. Eesh.
Yeah, and the defense, I mean, without Aaron Donald, I can't name many players that have experience. They've got the rookie, but other than that, I don't know much about the Rams defense.
Is Jack Youngblood still on the Rams defense?
I don't think so.
Merlin Olsen?
Deacon Jones.
Deacon Jones.
With the head slap?
Fearsome foursome.
Do you think with the Lions coming to town here and their fierce defense that bite people's kneecaps, they'll be able to catch up with Kyler and potentially disrupt some things that the Rams had no shot at doing today?
I think so. Aiden Hutchinson, who had such a big day. There were times the Cardinals' offensive line seemed a bit porous. Overall, I think they're stronger than we've probably seen from Cardinals' O-lines in the past, but there were still moments where Kyler was running for his life early, and I think Aiden Hutchinson is going to make things difficult for him next week. And that Lions offense is about as high-powered as you can get. 2 good running backs, 2 good wide receivers. I don't know how Amon-Ra St. Brown's leg is after he got hurt today, but even without him, they still have plenty of options on that offense.
Joe's like our injury update guy over there, right? You have the injury report up on your computer and reading it every couple minutes to update us? Is that how it goes?
I don't, but I can. And I can say the Lions' offensive line might be the best in football, and they maul.
Yeah.
And if Amon-Ra is out, they will just try to run down the Cardinals' defensive line.
I don't know if Dennis Gardeck is getting 3 sacks against the Lions.
Right. I wonder if that's a one-off. I mean, you would like to have somebody like Darius Robinson back in there who's also on IR. But yeah, it's going to be super interesting because these 2 teams could meet again in the playoffs.
Easily.
In your opinion, are the Cardinals a playoff team, or should we I guess feel let down if they don't make the playoffs this year based on today?
I mean, the way they played today, they looked like a playoff team. Like that's what a playoff team should do. And you're up against another team that's decimated with injuries like the Rams are. They should go out, punch them in the mouth early and often, put up 40 points on them, and pull your starters like with a few minutes left still in the fourth quarter. I mean, that's how playoff teams play. If they can keep that up, yeah, certainly. It's like it's always been with the Cardinals, though. It's just maintaining that throughout a game and throughout the season.
And they don't have a lot of depth if they get especially like Kyler if he gets out. Joe, what do you think?
Well, and now it's Gannon was saying like, hey, we got to come back to work tomorrow, but you're coming back a little lighter and be like, hey, we're a good team. Like hopefully that doesn't fall into it, and you're too high on yourself, because the Lions are a team that can punish you, and everyone predicted this team to win the conference, and they stubbed their toe today. But if it's a playoff team, I think it still remains to be seen. See how good they are. The NFC West, the other 2 teams are pretty talented, and you got to beat them. They just Gannon just got his first NFC West win. But it's a long, long season, and we're already 2 weeks in, and the injuries are just piling up everywhere. So
you never know.
It's who can survive, and that's what the season's all about, actually.
Well, and I think Kyler Murray, his post-game sound today, that's kind of why he didn't give us a lot of great color and excitement, because he knows the Lions are going to come in here and bite their kneecaps next week, and it's going to be a tussle out here in the desert. So
Gannon kind of embodies this idea, and you heard the players. I think both Kyler and Marvin Harrison said it today, and we heard it even going back through training camp and preseason. Don't get too high and don't get too low. And I mean, Gannon, from what I've seen of him over the past year and a half, that's kind of just the way he is. He doesn't ever seem to get too high or too low on anything. And if the team can maintain that and act that way, it definitely helps their chances of being a playoff team.
All right, who would win in a fight, Jonathan Gannon or Dan Campbell? Who'd you take?
Oh, Dan Campbell.
Yeah, Campbell.
I don't know, man. I want to mess with Gannon. He kind of looks at people sometimes with that game face, and you're like,
I don't doubt that.
I feel like he'd bite kneecaps.
Campbell's a big dude.
Campbell's a big dude, and he comes out and he uses phrases like "bite kneecaps."
Right.
I mean, maybe Gannon does, or he at least has.
I feel like he wouldn't go down. Gannon would not go down. Like, you could hit him as hard as you could.
I think he'd be scrappy. I think Gannon would hold his own against a lot of people. I don't know if Dan Campbell's one of them.
Well, I'd pay to watch that on Arizona's Family Sports pay-per-view channel, maybe our next channel. But let's hear from Kyler Murray here post-game, the Cardinal quarterback with his first ever win over the Rams at home.
Just great game. Great game. Marvelous work out there. Great team effort, offense, defense, special teams. Great week of practice. Expect to come out here and play like this when you're prepared and you got a great feel for it.
With all the talk about targets for Marv last week, was that first ball going to him no matter what?
Drew again. Drew called plays. Trying to go out there and execute. Obviously, I've played for a long time. You want to get your guys the ball early, so they can feel like they're in the game. Get them going, get their juices flowing. I feel like we did a great job of that today.
What is that like when you guys are going through it and it seems like nothing you do will go wrong? I mean, you even had that play late in the game where James fumbles and Trey falls on it.
When you play hard, you play for each other. I think good things happen.
It's been a minute since the Cardinals have really dominated somebody. Was that kind of how you draw it up, like what you envision? Is this as complete of a win as you've had in a while?
So far this year, I'm not really worried about the past or the future, just trying to be where my feet are. We had a great week of practice, prepared for this. We went out there and executed against a good football team. Divisional opponent, first home opener, 1-0 in the division. It was a good win.
All right, so here's what I hear from Kyler Murray that he did not say. But from his answers, I hear we're not going to have some huge victory party and we tell everybody we're going to the playoffs because we won one game.
Yeah.
Fair?
That goes to the not getting too high or too low.
Right.
That's that right there is just a perfect example of it and how this team is going to conduct itself this year. One thing that stood out to me when asked about Marvin Harrison getting that very first target of the game, he said, that's on Drew. That's on Drew. Last week after week one, Drew Petzing, offensive coordinator, made a point of saying, I don't want Kyler Murray to think about trying to force the ball to anybody. That's on me as the coordinator to try to get that, get those guys the touches that they need. Kyler echoed that later in the week, and I don't think it should have been a surprise for anyone that Drew Petzing calls up a play right out the gate that's meant to go to Marvin Harrison Jr. Because the other thing he said was that it's on me for Marvin Harrison to get more involved in the offense, and they definitely accomplished that today.
So does Aaron Rodgers not have an offensive coordinator then in New York today? Because apparently he went to the sidelines. He said he messed up the clock, and Breece Hall was on the sidelines and said, "Hey, if I got a linebacker on me, you should throw me a deep pass," and he did. So I like that they've separated the responsibilities here. Mm-hmm. But I don't think you're getting that from Aaron Rodgers, and it's interesting. It also shows, I feel like, a level of humility. Are you picking that up as well?
Kyler's part?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, very few quarterbacks are on the level of Aaron Rodgers and play that type of football.
Does Aaron Rodgers know the level he's on?
Of course he does.
Okay.
Would
he tell you?
He's very aware of his level. And he will tell you about it.
Okay, good. Yeah, we should have him on the pod.
And he will look down on others from his level.
Yeah, you know what?
But he is
one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen. But it's fun he makes for good podcast material, for sure.
Certainly.
I got a funny story about like coaching decisions and play, like what a player sees and what a coach sees. And it was from RG3 back in his days with Washington and Shanahan. And it was like a 3rd and 12, and he had a somewhat open receiver that would have got a first down, but he just ran for it and ran for 70 yards. And he was all excited, and Shanahan was mad at him because he made the wrong decision. Like, the guy was open. That's what the play is designed for. Throw it to the guy. And RG3 was like, man, that's totally different than what he's ever heard. And these coaches, I think these offensive coaches, they know what they're doing, and they're scheming, and they're saying, I know from the Shanahan perspective, like one play is going to set up something to another play to where you'll get that big touchdown. So maybe that's the same type of thing when you get younger quarterbacks. Rodgers, I think, is a totally different example because he sees everything, and he's probably telling Hackett.
He's seen it all before.
His coach, like, hey, I want to do this, and so I don't think we should compare what Rodgers is told by a coach to what this dynamic is between Petzing and Kyler.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's got to be a case-by-case basis between every coach and quarterback, kind of like a producer and an anchor. You know when to let an anchor ad-lib and when you want him to stick to the script.
Like all the time, like on the show?
Well, or it's...
Like, have you had a C block that hasn't been short in the past 40 days?
Or it's knowing when they're going to ad-lib and when they're going to stick to the script. And then, you make the adjustments. I guess I'm kind of the coordinator in the booth. You're the quarterback in front of the camera, and I see it as kind of the same thing. And it's just a familiarity with each other. And, I mean, this is their 10th game between Kyler and Petzing together. And things definitely seem to have come together for him pretty well.
They look dynamic, and I do wonder if Petzing, if this continues, if Petzing starts getting, his name's going to pop up. And they have a lot of guys, I feel like, on the offensive coaching staff too that could step in. But he's a very sharp guy. But man, this is to show you the NFL. Like last week, people were burying Petzing for his play calling, and rightly so. And now it's like, oh man, look at this guy, he's a genius.
Yeah, I could definitely see if the Cardinals' offense maintains the success they've had, even going back to last year when Kyler came back in their rushing success, he'll definitely be. You'll hear his name thrown out at the end of the year for those head coaching vacancies. He'll probably interview for a job or two. Yeah, I forgot where I was going with that.
That's all right.
Yeah.
It happens when you do 40 hours of media in a 24-hour setting. All right, so let's get to Marvin Harrison Jr. and hear from him post-game after a career day in his second NFL start.
I think you can never get too high, never get too low. Last week, I know I couldn't get too low. This week, I'm not going to get too high on a successful day. So you just try to approach each game with the same mindset, have the same preparation, same routine, no matter how the results are. Obviously, if things are going bad, got to change some things. But no, I think I never had any lack of confidence in myself or the rest of the team. So I continue to get better each and every week and continue to grow.
All right, so what do we hear there? We don't hear, hey, I've dreamed of this in my entire life, and to go out there and put on a show like this means a lot to me and my family because I watch my dad do this. This is me unpacking what he really said. Did he seem giddy at all?
No, well, and I think part of the benefit, one of the reasons Marvin Harrison Jr. goes as high as he did in the draft is because he's one of the few people who can come into the NFL and already be familiar with the NFL. Being raised in it, his dad having the career that he did, he knows how the league operates more than 98% of rookies are going to know coming into the league. So that just puts him so much farther ahead on the learning curve and gives him more of that ability, I think, to bounce back after week one. You didn't look like a 4th overall pick, but week 2 looked like he should have gone 1st overall.
Joe, Jerry Rice's debut, do you remember that at all? And if so, how does it compare?
He had a bad rookie season from what I don't remember because I was too young, but my dad said, and he was so good, he would get wide open and then just drop touchdowns.
That's
in his
right.
hands.
Devontae Adams, same way. His first two and a half seasons, Devontae Adams was dropping touchdowns left and right. Packers fans were just saying, get rid of this guy. And then probably by year 4 or 5, he turned into the guy that he is now. And for Marvin Harrison Jr. to come in as ready-made as he has, only in week 2, it's
so there's
impressive.
hope. There's hope for Kadarius Toney. Is he anywhere, by the way?
No, I don't think he has the same kind of head on his shoulders.
I don't know if the Niners picked him up or something as a project. MHJ, way too early to have this discussion. But let's have it anyway. It's a podcast. Does he have Hall of Fame talent?
Oh.
Not going to the Hall of Fame. Does he have Hall of Fame talent?
He's got Hall of Fame pedigree, so absolutely, it's in his DNA.
Yeah.
I was thinking offensive rookie of the year. Even that's hard to peg down. Is there so many?
Who would be the candidates?
Malik Neighbors. As another wide receiver, had another good game. Not on the same level as Harrison, but Neighbors is. Through 2 weeks is more consistent, but also on a bad offense. So I don't know if
Neighbors scored today.
Yeah,
I think Jaden Daniels won Rookie of the Week.
Right.
Brock Bowers. I think he had 15 catches.
Oh wow.
A Raiders record for any tight end to have 15 catches in a game in just his second game. Yeah,
and against the Ravens.
I think so.
That's more catches than I ever had in a season.
Double check on that, but yeah, I'm pretty sure.
In one
15,
game.
Yes.
What do we make of the Raiders beating the Ravens? By the way, and the Ravens 0-2.
That's surprising.
Who else is 0-2?
Bengals.
Yeah.
Bengals dropped to 0-2.
And what's the stat on if you're 0-2?
I think it's like 11% of teams.
I have it.
11 or 14.
Bowers had 9 catches.
Oh, he had 9. I was way off on 15.
That's all right.
Then.
Well, maybe he's got 15 for the season.
I think, like Joe
still.
says, TV stats lie.
Gardner Minshew's smart. Yeah, right. Never. Joe, what was the line there when you worked at MLB? What did they tell you about?
Well, as a producer that has to tell its story of recap the game, never trust a TV graphic.
That was right.
Does that apply for the extra point as well?
Sure. I have the stat, the 0-2 curse. Since 1990, 279 teams have started 0-2. Only 32 of them turned it around and made the playoffs that season. And this Cardinal game was a battle of 0-1, so the loser went to 0-2. So that's what the Cardinals were facing as well. Let's see all the 0-2 teams.
A lot of those, though, are before adding
now there's an extra game,
which
so
changes it a little bit, but not a whole lot.
9 and 8 can get you in the playoffs.
Yeah, but the Bengals seem like the just Jamar Chase thing is just not that set the whole tone for the season.
And Burrow, I mean, he came off a pretty serious wrist injury. I haven't watched him all that closely, but it doesn't seem that whole team just doesn't seem to have that same kind of mojo they had not that long ago.
I mean, he doesn't have Higgins either.
Yeah, no Higgins out there.
Splitting the backfield. There's only 3 0-2 teams in the NFC: Giants, Panthers, and Rams. And
so none of them are. I mean,
those 3 weren't going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean,
the Rams maybe.
For the problems, the Rams have had, I definitely don't put them in the same category as the Panthers and Giants. No. Like they have a much better chance of getting to the playoffs.
Is it a trap game when the Cardinals visit the Panthers on December 22nd? Nick King's making that trip.
Oh,
it's going to be rainy in Charlotte. I mean, or the Panthers is going to be just like a collection of UFL guys by then.
I don't know, man. I mean,
aren't
they already?
The
yeah, it's so like so much can change. I don't know if the Panthers are going to pull it together by then.
Well, they might have that Texas running back, right? Brooks?
Yeah, that's true. I'm not sure how.
Yeah, but
what they'll be playing for at that point
is just the quarterback play there. Is Bryce Young? Is he? They're going to get rid of him after this year.
Saw a clip today, and I mean, I feel for that guy. I mean, it looked like he came off nearly in tears at one point for just the lack of. I mean, you can't blame everything on the team around you. I mean, at a certain point, we've seen quarterbacks overcome poor offensive line play, but I mean, as a rookie to come in as a first overall pick to a team that was as bad as that, and then seemingly things just get worse in year 2 for you. I mean, the Panthers should have had the first pick in the draft this year. Didn't. They had traded it away to get him.
That's the kind of stuff that erodes a fan base. That's why today's Cardinal win was so big, because people are like, maybe I'll go out there. Maybe I'll spend money on it.
Yeah.
Well, I think the Panthers don't have their second round pick this year coming up.
Yeah.
That goes to the Bears.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that franchise is in a tough spot. And I think they've got an owner who maybe does a little bit too much meddling. I mean, I've seen plenty of stuff of him meeting with the head coach almost on a weekly basis. And I think that's probably not good for
you should run
morale.
This play. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Let the coach, that goes back to what we were saying about the Cardinals. It's like letting people do their jobs.
Yeah.
That's super important.
And in the NFL, I mean, if you look, the best teams, generally the best organizations start from the top down. So it starts with the ownership and the kind of decisions they make and how they let the team be run, and how much they can stay in their lane versus the amount of resources they allow the team to use or they're willing to use.
Like Ted Thompson wasn't going into, was it Ron Wolf?
Packers are a little different.
Office and being like, you gotta run a 3-4.
Yeah.
Bryce Pop isn't being used right.
Yeah, Mark Murphy wasn't meeting with Mike McCarthy and Ted Thompson and all of those years. Wasn't talking on X's and O's with them, that's for sure.
Well, the Packers and the 49er podcast we could do after this show.
Yeah.
But, all right, so let's just go through the schedule real quick, and maybe, I don't know, this kind of seems like a fun way to end the show. We can see. All right, Lions next week, win or loss?
I'm going to say win.
I'm going to say a tough field goal loss at the end of the game, something like that. Like, they'll be in it, but I think the Lions are too good.
All right, so you're 1-2. Commanders, Jaden Daniels comes in here the next week. Cliff Kingsbury returns.
I think they'll beat the Commanders. I
think that's a win, too.
Yeah.
All right, so you're 2-2. Then you go to San Francisco. Is McCaffrey back? When is McCaffrey back?
I think that's the earliest McCaffrey.
That's the earliest, but there were reports today that he could be out.
I don't think
six weeks.
Even without McCaffrey, I don't think they beat the 49ers on the road.
Okay, so you're 2-3. So your Niners beat the Cardinals. Then they go to Green Bay. Do your Packers beat the Cardinals? Is Jordan Love back by then?
Honestly, if he's back, I think he could be.
I think he is.
The win they happened to get today against the Colts surprised me. I mean, Josh Jacobs doing what they should. I don't think they can rely on 150 yards from him every week. And by that point, if Jordan Love's not back, I think the Cardinals win in Lambeau. Last time they won in Lambeau, Mike McCarthy lost his job.
Right, Josh. Why am I forgetting his name?
Josh
Rosen.
Josh Rosen. Josh Rosen and Larry Fitzgerald. Gosh,
The Rosen one.
The Rosen one. That was
he
his only
lost
big
Mike
one.
McCarthy his job.
Wow. Yeah, Larry Fitzgerald, a big catch. All right, so you're 3-3. You say win at Lambeau, Joe?
Depending on Love. If
Right.
Love's in there, that's a loss.
I think so.
How did Malik Willis do today, by the way? Like, when we watched him.
He threw a touchdown, right?
Yeah, threw a
Was
touchdown.
that his first
today.
touchdown of his career?
I think it was, yeah.
Wow.
There was, I just saw something before coming in here. Matt LaFleur at one point had asked him why he didn't throw to an open guy, and I guess the center had vomited on the ball just before the snap, and Willis didn't want to spread that around to anybody else, so he just
really spreading it around.
kept it himself and ran ran with it. But I mean,
what a good teammate.
Yeah, right. But I think if they can keep that up and Malik Willis can keep them somewhere where I have no idea. But
all right, 3-3. By the way, quick story: in high school, we had this right tackle, Paul Tanous, who went to Michigan. And big guy. I mean, he's probably 6'5", 300 pounds in high school, and ran in the huddle play. I think the ball might have been. I might have even had a chance to catch it, and he just throws up all over my shoes.
Oh.
And it's like fluorescent green Gatorade. And so I'm literally running to the line of scrimmage, like, squish, squish, squish.
Oh,
thanks, dude.
Oh,
yeah. That's basically how the season went. All right, so we're 3-3. Monday Night Football, October 21st. Hopefully a game we pick up on Arizona's family. Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers coming here. The Cardinals are 500. Do they win on Monday Night Football?
that team's all out of sorts. Who knows what Justin Herbert's going to do? I think he got hurt today too.
Yeah.
But I think it's Cardinals at this point.
Well, the Chargers are 2-0, and they've bought fully into Harbaugh, and he's changed everything. But
he does find ways to win.
He does. That's going to be, I think, another tight game where play between the 30s and some field goals happen. And sure, Cardinals win.
All right, so you're 4-3. You're 4-3 going to Week 9. You got 2 back-to-back games at home. Caleb Williams and the Bears come in here. It's on CBS 5. It's a 2:00 kick. The time has changed. This is November the 3rd. We have a post-game show. Do you beat the Bears at home?
Yeah, they should.
You can beat the Bears.
They definitely should still beat
So
them.
you're 5-3. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, you're about halfway home in the season. Week 10, Aaron Rodgers comes in here. You're 5-3. Well, we'll see if Aaron Rodgers is who's the Jets backup? Do we know? Who's
Tyrod?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, the Jets, they barely pulled out a win over the Titans today. They were, just one goal line drop away from going to overtime against the Titans.
Yeah.
But I mean, Jets defense is still pretty solid. I think the difference is the Cardinals playing at home. I think they could beat them. I think they could.
That's 6-3.
Rodgers has had lots of luck though playing it.
Oh my God, he turns into Superman.
But he's also had bad luck. I mean, he's lost a lot of those games other than that that Week 8 game in 2021 on Thursday night.
Right. Who was the guy? Who's the
AJ
corner?
Green went the wrong way. Rasul Douglas with the interception.
In camp with the Cardinals. You were there with all the Packers
Yeah,
fans.
it was right in front of me.
Wow. Are you gonna? Yeah, I guess you can't go. You got to work. All right, so 6-3.
That's NASCAR Championship weekend.
Oh, you'll be out there.
Yeah.
Are you gonna take Henry the intern? By the way.
Yeah, I'll take him.
He's super excited. Like he was gonna ask. I don't know if he's asked. Okay,
sure.
I just asked for him. Okay, Henry, if you're listening, you're going to NASCAR that weekend. Don't make any plans. All right, so you got the bye. The weekend before Thanksgiving, you go up to Seattle, which is always a tough place to play. They're 2-0. Cardinals traditionally have had a lot of success in Seattle. I haven't really watched them as much as I wanted to this year, but I think Geno Smith and in the offense, they seem to have it clicking. Win-loss in Seattle.
I mean, if they generally played well there, I could see him getting the win. Interesting thing Nick King did earlier this week on the lack of passing yards. We've seen, just through 2 weeks and even continuing, there's very few 300-yard passers, but I think both weeks Geno Smith's been one of the few that's been up around 300 passing. So the Seahawks offense can still keep
There are a lot of
the way they have.
deep touchdowns today, over 50 yards.
Yeah.
Including MHJ, but
Yeah.
Gino connected with a wide open DK.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried about DK running through the Cardinals secondary. I think there's going to be some injuries. That's where this thing kind of falls apart.
Yeah.
But you can't forecast injuries.
No, I mean, I think on the road in Seattle, I mean, they'll keep pulling it together. I think the Seahawks get that one.
Okay, so that's their fourth loss. So what are we at? 6 and
7-4,
4,
6
7
and
and
4?
4, 7 and
6 and
4.
4.
Is it 6 and 4? Because that was week 12. The bye messed me up. 6 and 12, 6 and 4. We'll get to 17. Okay, so they have 4 losses. At the Vikings, weekend after Thanksgiving, I would have put this down for a win, but now Sam Darnold's not seeing ghosts. At the Vikings, our sports photographer John Gustafson goes back to the homeland. Elliot Polikoff's going to make the trip up there. I don't know. I kind of say that's the 5th loss, but no.
That feels like one that the Vikings will lead most of the game and then do what the Vikings do and choke it at the end, and Kyler somehow pulls out some sort of weird magic at the very end of it. I could see that happening.
I can see that. Joe?
I could also see the Vikings winning it.
Yeah, I can't tell how good or bad the Vikings are.
If Jefferson's on the field,
that's
I
a good point.
think they could tear up.
That's another.
Cardinals
Okay.
secondary.
So we'll say win or loss.
Can we call it a tie? Can we predict a tie?
Oh, we can do
nice.
a tie.
I like that idea.
Tie. Okay, so we're 6. Are we 6 and 5? 6, 5 and 1 at this point.
6-5-1. 6-4
Okay.
and 1.
Seahawks at home on CBS 5.
Oof.
Maybe a close win.
Yeah, I'm gonna say close win.
Yeah.
So you're
I think
7 and 5.
The home field's the difference between those two teams.
7, 5 and 1. Patriots at home. That man, I had the Vikings and the Patriots chalked up as wins.
I thought the Patriots were going to be one of those bottom tier teams with the Panthers and the Giants this year, but are they 2-0 now?
Yeah,
No, they lost. They lost in overtime.
They lost to
they
Seattle.
lost
That's
in
right.
overtime.
But they're
But still, they
playing a lot
played
better.
Seattle that hard.
Yeah.
They're not one of those bottom tier teams. So, are they? They're in New England, or the
no, it's
Patriots
here.
come here?
It's here on CBS. We have a post game show.
Oh, watch out for Kyler's knee.
Oh yeah, and that's
was
when the
against
field
the
gets weird.
Patriots.
Yeah, same deal.
But I think the Cardinals can still beat. Maybe Drake May is starting by then, but not if they keep playing as well as they have with Brissett.
Yeah, and that's a guy that knows how to win games. All right, so are we 8, 5 and 1?
I don't know, Joe. Are you
That's
giving
14?
that to the Cardinals?
Yeah, I think so.
They could beat them.
All right, then at Panthers.
Well, eventually these teams are going to start be like, hey, Travis Hunter's out there, that number 1
Right.
pick.
Yeah, that's true.
Panthers. That's a win. That's 9, 5 and 1.
Yeah, I would imagine.
That's
beat
16.
the Pan-
So that's 8, 5 and 1. Okay. Panthers. That's 8, 5 and 1. Then you go at the Rams and at the Niners to finish the season. So Rams win.
I think they can beat the
10
Rams after looking at today, even on the road.
So 10, 5 and 1, and then you got the Niners at home week 18. Are they playing for anything there? Both of them?
If you have 10 wins by then, I think you would be.
Yeah.
Unless the
All right.
Niners are like 12 and.
I think the difference there is what is San Francisco playing for? I mean, if they're trying to get the first seed, they're going to play them hard, and they're going to want that. If they've got it wrapped up, they might sit. Or I mean, it's even possible that those two teams are playing for the division at that point.
Right.
So I mean, at home, I still have a hard time picking anyone against the 49ers. That roster and that coaching is hard to pick against. So I think I'd go for San Francisco.
Yeah.
All right, so the Cardinals 11, 6 and 1.
No.
That
10,
6 and 1?
10, 6.
Yeah, okay, that's 17. 10, 6 and 1. That's enough to get you in the playoffs, right?
It should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that extra wild card spot.
Maybe that tie helps them.
I mean, what is it? Every year there's something like 2 or 3 teams fall out and 2 or 3 new teams in each conference in the playoffs. I think the Cardinals very easily could be one of them that step up this year.
All right. So
if it all holds together. I mean, I think every predictive discussion comes with the injury asterisk.
I like doing this every week. We predict the schedule to end the show.
All
right, Cardinals this year.
Update.
Yes.
I mean, we should
will
have
update.
wrote all those down and see.
Well, let's go back
It's
and
being
listen to it.
recorded.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, but it's a lot easier if you just write it down as you go. Then you go through and listen back to that last 15 minutes.
Right. We'll update it and we'll run it on the extra point.
Well, we're not doing this next week, right?
We'll do it Monday.
Oh,
yeah, we'll do Monday next week
with our bold predictions. Any other bold predictions for the NFL before we get out of here going forward? Texans win the Super Bowl.
That doesn't feel bold. That feels like a pretty popular pick right now.
Cowboys don't go to the playoffs.
I think
Seattle wins the
Cowboys.
NFC West.
The refs don't help the Chiefs win a game. That's the boldest prediction of all.
It's going to be the Niners. And the Chiefs
you
in the Super Bowl.
You got to keep Taylor Swift interested.
Right.
She went nuts tonight.
No.
That's not surprising. Maybe
over Harrison Butker.
Maybe they can trade her. Maybe they'll trade her and she'll start dating somebody else. Maybe she'll start dating MHJ. If we could only be so lucky to have that sort of media circus here in town.
I don't know about that.
All right. Well, that's a good place to end. We'll discuss more next week. But join us every night here on Arizona's Family 3 TV at 10:35 for the Extra Point television show produced by Matt Hippie and Joe Ferris.
This is the Extra Point, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast, sponsored by your Phoenix Suns.